So what has been like your most proudest moment of having ADHD, or like where you really feel like you're accepting it as a superpower?
My superpower. I had, yeah, that was honestly, let's see. Proudest moment.
Or where do you feel like your ADHD like really sings?
Sometimes, oh God.
And sings in a good way.
You know what? I can't think I think in general, I generally I feel like it makes me very relatable.
Mm,
Um which I feel like it uh because I've there have been so many different types of struggles in every part of my life. Like I feel like it's helped me develop a sense of humor about it. Like there are definitely days where I don't want this to be funny anymore. Today this is not funny. But there are other days where it's just hilarious. Like I can lose a pen in my hand. Like these are things that happen daily. And it's funny. And I feel like it helps me get a little bit of perspective. I feel like it helps me relate to other people, and it helps other people open up to me about similar things.
yeah.
Um, and I think it's so important. And then, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just completely agreeing with you. Like I've got thousands of things going on in my mind as well, but I'm just completely agreeing with you there.
Yeah, yeah. Like I just feel like I feel like my ADHD, like I think it just helps me be more relatable. It helps me be able to be more empathetic to people, and compassionate. And I think this is a common pattern with ADHDers is it's easier for us sometimes to be compassionate towards others than ourselves. So I'm trying to flip that compassion around to me a little bit more. But I feel like sometimes I can be a safe place for people, and that's really good. And that helped me a lot as a clinician, as a speech therapist, working with people who were going through really vulnerable, really hard things. That was a superpower for sure.
Yeah,
And
because
uh, sorry.
you feel their pain.
Yeah,
Like,
totally. Yeah.
yeah,
Even if
in
it's
a
not the same kind.
mm,
Yeah. And and then I also feel like it makes me really good at improvising.
yeah,
Which is a really good skill.
yeah, thinking on
It's
your
really
feet.
handy. It's really handy to have that skill when you forget about shit a lot. Like when you're
Yeah,
like, oh shit, I have a presentation in 20 minutes I totally forgot about. Being able to improvise is a very good skill.
yeah,
So that's also really that's something that I think is a really handy thing. Yeah, I think that's where it shines for me. I think those would be the main things. And
do you,
also sometimes to really be able to like thrive in chaos, like where like things are totally falling apart
mm,
and like everything is chaotic around you and your brain is finally getting the dopamine it needs to like actually function. Like everything's falling apart and you're just like, this is my wheelhouse. Step aside. This is mine. Like you just feel like you can handle it.
yeah,
And
like, oh, the roof just caved in. Yeah, that's fine. Look, we've already handled this. It's all good.
yeah,
Just step
yeah.
aside.
And it's funny because in small situations I'll totally panic, I'll fall apart, like small things where like it's like boring, like packing. Oh my god, like don't I hate packing for a trip is like the worst. I'll always cry, but because it's not a big deal, it's not high pressure, like I don't know what it is about packing, but I'll fall apart. But
Mm,
um like an example of the chaos thing, I was at an international conference for work a couple years ago, and this was again pre-diagnosis, and it was a big deal conference. It's like thousands of people, big deal in our field. I was doing a presentation with my colleague, the same one who like pointed out the similarities between me and that radio show. And we had spent months preparing for this thing, and we were about to present. We did troubleshooting with our PowerPoint presentation and everything, and this room was full of like the biggest speech therapy like people in my field. Like the people who wrote the textbooks I learned from in my master's, like these were big names in speech therapy, and they were in this room. And then we start a presentation, and the PowerPoint slide, for some reason, is upside down. I've never seen that before in my life. The videos were playing with no sound, like everything was a mess. And my colleague was losing it. Like she was like shaking. She couldn't even type. She was so anxious. And I was just like, all right, take a breath. Let's call tech support. We'll get this sorted. It's fine. And I was like steady as a rock.
Yeah.
Like couldn't shake me. I'm ready. It's tech support. No big deal. We're a little delayed, but it was fine. And like, I felt like that was my ADHD kicking in, like, because I felt like everything was falling apart. Everyone was freaking out. And there was just like this stillness that came over me where I could just take it in and get the right output, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, it's dopamine and norepinephrine or noradrenaline that are efficient in our brains. So that would have been the norepinephrine just kind of kicking in and being like, okay, so I've got all this motivation and clarity now, so let's just do this.
Yeah, let's just do it. Yeah, like it was just like that was it. Like it was like there was like for me, like I just felt like nothing was wrong, and like so many people after that presentation were like came up and commented on how calm I was, which is so funny. It was also so funny because like my whole life I was never described as a calm person ever.
Yeah.
But in those situations, I feel like it kicks in.
Yeah. Can you imagine as well though, like if you knew that that was the scenario that you're going to be walking into, how much you would have been freaking out beforehand?
How much what? Sorry?
How much you would have been freaking out beforehand if you knew that that was the situation that you're going to walk into? It would have completely But with neurotypical people, they would be like, oh, okay, so this is the situation I'm going to walk into, so I know how to prepare for all this. But for us, it's the other way around. Just throw us in the deep end.
Yeah, let the shit hit the fan and we'll figure it out from there. Like, I don't know, we're a little reversed.
That's amazing. But, I guess let's flow on to, like, you're obviously working with other people with ADHD now because you're doing the ADHD yoga. So what's your general, or what's your best advice for them with, I guess, you managing yourself with your condition, but also for them that are going through something similar? What's like your number one or top three or something like that you just
Top three pieces of advice. I feel like I have a couple. Okay, so general ones. I think the most important one. Oh no, I don't know. I think one of the more important ones is working on acceptance. Like self-acceptance is such a big part. Because like I said before, like I couldn't actually dedicate myself completely to treatment and to ongoing management until I just fully accepted that I had ADHD. And also just like kind of forgiving myself for that, because I think, and also knowing that accepting your ADHD is not the same as using it as an excuse. Because I think some people are like, well, I don't want to accept it because I don't want to just run my life like, yeah, I'm late because I have ADHD. Yeah, I'm behind because I have ADHD. Yeah, I forgot that because I have ADHD. That's not what acceptance looks like. Like acceptance looks like I have ADHD. That means have difficulty with time management. And these are strategies that help compensate for difficulties with time management. Like it helps you anticipate where things could go wrong. That's what acceptance is like. It's not letting yourself off the hook. It's not just being like, well, that's too bad. I have ADHD and there's nothing I can do about it. It's like, I have it. Here are strategies. Here's how I can use them. And I think that's a really big, important piece. And that distinction between acceptance and excuses is really important.
Yeah. That means that
the
you're
other thing,
allow people to accept it as well.
Sorry?
It means that you're going to allow other people to accept it as well.
Yeah. And I think, like modeling that too. Like modeling self-acceptance for me is really important for, because there's a lot of people who like find my account and they just got diagnosed and they have no idea what it means. And And I don't want to, I don't want to give the false impression that, once you do this, this, and this, you're fixed, because it's not like that. Like ADHD is just so dynamic, and our lives are so dynamic. And then, as women, we also have the privilege of dealing with hormones at multiple stages in our lives, which like changes it. Oh, it's a whole other game month to month, So, I don't ever want to give the impression that you'll just be fixed. And so I try to be really honest with, things I'm struggling with, or things that I thought I had under control, and things that, today was a little harder than the day before. And that's also just part of it. So also just accepting that it's going to fluctuate, and that's just the way it is. And having a little self-compassion, and just being okay with that. Being nicer to yourself on like those bad days, because you're going to have them.
Yeah. That's so true. I think that's really beautiful though. Yeah.
Okay.
You can come up with something else if you like, but I think that in itself is really, which is really good advice for a lot of people, because even though like we've both gotten this diagnosis as a way to go, oh my goodness, okay, this is so relieving that it's not just all in my head. There is still just that figuring out of like, okay, so I've got this diagnosis. I'm aware that all of these things that I do in my life are because of ADHD. Oh my goodness. But to be able to change the language around it, and to be able to actually understand those triggers as well. I keep doing hand movements.
Like that all the time.
Yeah, it's like la 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 la. I'm sure that you can see I keep like shuffling in my seat as well. There's no sitting still. But yeah, being able to actually go, okay, so this is all of the reasons why I am not the same as everyone else in a good way. But how can I actually look at that and go, okay, so this is what's happening for me. How can I understand it better so that I can improve my behavior around it, and help myself to level up?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and knowing that the leveling up is like those levels are going to be different, and that's just the way it is. Like some of those levels, sometimes you'll take freaking a huge level up, and it'll be awesome, and you'll make this big progress. And then sometimes it's just little bits at a time, but it's still freaking progress.
And sometimes that's important. That's okay too.
Yeah, totally. I think, and another thing that I find I wish I had known like younger, I think, is other ways, like just the interplay between like your mind and your body, which comes up so much in yoga, your mind, your body, and your spirit, right? And how they can influence each other. Because like as a kid growing up, and I think it's changed now, but like as a kid growing up, you like exercise was only kind of talked about in terms of weight loss and fitness and attractiveness. And so was food. Like healthy eating was always talked about in terms of like, again, weight loss and being attractive and blah, blah, blah. It wasn't a way of well-being. It wasn't part of well-being, like it. And the thing I really loved about, and still love about yoga, is just that it understands that your well-being is not just about your physical body, and you can actually make your physical body healthier with keeping your mind healthy. Because if you're like you get migraines and back pains and like aches and stuff from like this constant tension in your mind, but also the other way around, like you can also relieve those like repetitive thoughts and concentration, and help with focus through physical exercise. Like they're both doors to help each other out. And that was like something I really, really love about yoga, and wish I had known as a kid, that your body and your mind are connected, and it's not just like exercise for the sake of being attractive. Like you can it's for a better peace of mind. And that was something like I really only learned in like my late 30s. Or sorry, I'm not even in my late 30s, my late 20s. No, I'm not even in my late 30s. That's not something I even learned until like my late 20s, like that exercise is a way of like helping your mind out, and meditation and positive self-thought and positive self-image and confidence and all those things, and concentration and breath are all things that can they impact each other. There's no separating them. And I feel like especially like in like kind of the Western mindset and the medical model, it's just like all about like the physical body, and that's kind of it. That's like what well-being and health is. And I like that yoga has a more broader idea of what health is.
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. Well, thank you so much today for letting me interview you. You are absolutely so passionate and so inspiring in this space. And even though you said that you're only really just starting out with doing the ADHD yoga, like you're already so connected with what the community needs, which is so good. And like even with all this, like you're saying before, that you have an extra level of ability to be able to understand other people and to be able to meet them on their level. And that goes beyond ADHD. That helps to benefit everyone, which is really beautiful. So just before we finish this off, I'll get you to just say where people can find you and contact you. I know that you said it at the start, but just to remind them so they don't have to rewind back. How can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at ADHD Yoga. And you can also, I have a website, adhdyoga.ca. You can join my email list there. You scroll down and there's like a join my email list thing, and I send it out like a little newsletter every week. So you could join me there. And I also have a Facebook group, again, ADHD Yoga. So if you want to email me, but I don't know, list all the ways you can contact me. If you want to email me, it's Taucha at adhdyoga.ca. And my email address, or my name, sorry, it's weird. It's TAUCHA at ADHD.
Awesome.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being with me today. Yeah,